called meeting of the Danville Architectural Heritage Board, April 16th, 2025. First order of business is if we've had a chance to review the minutes from the 3/19/25 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion on the minutes? Everyone happy with them? All in favor? Aye. Very good. Look,
Pardon?
Lynn? Yeah, Mr. Tillman? And see, item number 3, a little bit of change up, just so we can move some folks along. Certificate of appropriateness hearings. Let's move up the 446 West Walnut demolition of the buildings of formerly Bull Lumber Company. Is there a representative here, sir, from Ephraim, if you'd like to?
My name's Craig Sutton. I'm
Yes, sir, Mr.
Systems
Sutton.
Director of Facilities for Ephraim McDowell Health. We have put in an application for demolition of the old Bull Lumber building. Over the last several years, the building has become in disarray and disrepair. We have moved operation out and it's currently unoccupied at this time. It does present a liability in its current shape for Ephraim McDowell Health as it's unoccupied and could pose a liability to the community in the right conditions, such as homeless or fire or things of that nature. So,
Okay. Ms. House, any comments from our administrative folks on this?
No, but I believe that we have some I think we got some comments after, but I think we have some folks that want to also speak about
Okay,
it.
very
So-
good. If you, I will stand ready to recognize anyone else who would like to speak to the subject. Mr. Condor, if you would like to step to the microphone and state your name and who you represent, sir.
Yes, thank you, Tom. My name's Bill Condor, and we, as a group, represent the Charleston Green Homeowners Association, and that's a condominium complex right west of the property line adjoining Ephraim McDowell's property. And the building is actually pretty much on our joint property line. We are not here to remonstrate taking it down. Rather, we have been waiting for years for this discussion to happen. And we think it's in disarray, as the gentleman represented. We're anxious to get it out of there. The property was developed by Mr. and Mrs. Kemper, and I'm talking about our condominium complex. Sort of integral to that. Right now, their view is simply a side of the building. And that puts us in a position you kind of wonder what to wish for. So I want to make a couple comments, not negative at all. We want the building taken out, and but we don't want a ugly place or a sore left, and we don't know the plans for the property. Maybe it hasn't been planned yet. One of the first things that we'd like to see is an extension of Church Street to Martin Luther King. That would be a north-south street. Currently, the hospital's driveway is sort of emulating that, but it is private property. And there is some safety concerns at each end of that when it's used by employees of the hospital and people that seem to be bypassing stoplights by cutting through there. So we'd like whatever, we'd hate to see a new building that sits there and it stops the ability to run Church Street through there. We would like to see construction and development, but if it stays a parking lot, we'd like it developed a little more, something like the hospital did on 2nd Street across from the CVS store, very attractive and mowed with islands and so on. The way it is now is a little borderline, and still maybe the plan is that it wouldn't be a parking lot. I'm not trying to say that. Secondly, drainage from the roof of the lumber company building flows onto our parking lot. And there's really quite a bit of water, and it's not hurting anything. I don't mean that at all. But the water then goes on through our property to Center College's property. And that creates quite a bit of accumulation of water that comes from places other than that. I'd just like for maybe some qualified people during the later stages of the destruction of the building to look at the surface water drainage and what the property can absorb itself and where the rest of the water has to go, whether that goes through the Walnut Street gutter or, I'm not trying to answer my own question. It's a lot of water. It bears a little consideration as opposed to maybe leaving it to a contractor to just do his own finish. The floors and the concrete and everything we'd like to see removed by the contractor that tears the building down. And if it's going to be the parking lot, that maybe the maintenance goes on there so that it can be a parking lot. The original transfer of the property to it happened to, and it's pretty well done, and it's recorded in the courthouse and everything. But one of the statements is that there won't be any trash cans or dumpsters and so on. So that, and we would like the dumpster that's there now, that's not hurting a thing because the building's blocking it. But we'd like our people not to have to look out and see it from the it's kind of the clash between residential living and business property. The other thing that the document covers is that an 11-foot fence would be built, high fence, would be built between the two properties, which we here many years later than this was written, we'd still like a fence there. And we'd like a wood fence built with the same design that we've used on our recent improvements. And that fence would be built on the property line north and south, and the whole length of the property line. we don't want a plastic fence like one that's on the property now for another purpose, but it's in ruins and just shows that that type of fence wouldn't serve the purpose that we need between our two properties, and also we don't want to repair this every 3 or 4 years or twice a year or whatever. We want it to be a 20 to 50-year project that serves both properties adequately. We have a total lighting system for our entire property that is turned on as darkness begins and turned back off when daylight comes. And it serves the entire property. And because it's been added on to several times, it's kind of complex. And one of the complexities is that the side of the building that Mr. and Mrs. Kemper owned at that time has our lighting for the east driveway on it and our parking lot. And we've always understood that that would have to be replaced, and we're working on with a plan with KU. I don't have final answers on that yet, but we would like to know maybe a few days ahead of the beginning of the demolition so that we could dismantle the connectivity that we have to those lights and hopefully almost concurrent to that begin our new program. But the existing parking lot at the rear of the property and the north-south driveway that 9 of our residents use, in darkness, it just wouldn't be quite right. It needs to be lighted other than the headlights of the person's car. Finally, we'd like for the city of Danville and Ephraim McDowell to create a checklist with qualified people on each side signing off as key tasks, key events are completed, and provide a final sign-off when the property is brought to finish grade. And some of these things we've simply suggested. We don't have any ownership. We live next door, and that's what we'd like the neighbors to do with their property. And Charleston Green Homeowners Association appreciates the opportunity to attend this planning meeting. We're fully in support of Ephraim McDowell's efforts in this building removal, and we hope our suggestions can contribute to some decisions that have to be made that we may not even know about, but we just want to be a part of it as neighbors, and we hope it'll go well for the community. We're only a block off of Main Street, and right now the property's, as the gentleman just said, the property's in disarray. It's probably the worst looking property on Walnut and anything adjacent to Main Street. And so I think the intention of Ephraim McDowell is very positive, and we mean nothing negative in our presence here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conder. A quick question for you. Have the two groups been in contact with each other yet over this?
Zero.
It's a good time to be trading phone numbers right now, okay? It's a very good opportunity.
I'm Bill's Connor.
Did speak one time a few months back, I believe, on the telephone, about some of the building repairs and gutters that were loose and things like that.
Do any of the other board members have a question for Mr. Conder while? Lynn?
I don't have a question, but, Mr. Conder, that was an excellent presentation.
Absolutely.
I was just following it logically, point by point, and if I can take away what you're concerned about is what's happening in the future. And this is a good time to get the people that are going to affect that future together. And just to empathize with you, that water coming off the lumber company into the association and down into Center College, that all ended up in my cellar. So I understand water. And again, thank you for your presentation.
Very good. Thank you, Lynn. Joni, do you have anything to?
I do. Thank you all for being here today. Let me explain the process to you a little bit. And I do want to get Mr. Conder's phone number before you leave here, so please give that to me and I'll give you mine. This hearing is just to get the process started. This is the first step. So we require what is called a certificate of appropriateness, and that's an application. The one that we are dealing with today is only for the demolition of the building. Now, when Ephraim McDowell comes back with a proposal of what they want to do, it has to go through this process again. So I am in big hopes that we can all kind of work together to put that proposal together to what the final, what your final idea or what the final plan is for the property, because as I understand, they don't really have a plan as of right now. Is that correct, Mr. Sutton? You guys don't really have the plan. So it gives us some time to work on that. And if that is a codicil or a agreement on your deed, I suspect that's probably something you all need to have attorneys look at. Because if that is part of the deed agreement between you and the property owner, that's probably something that the attorneys are going to have to work out. But just to make sure that you all know, this is just the first step in that process. So a wall being built would have to come through this board, whatever the final plan is. And within our design guidelines, there's some very serious restrictions on what kind of wall can be built. Vinyl and chain link are no-nos in the district. So that gives you kind of an idea. And I would encourage you guys to go to the city's, it's the Planning and Zoning website, look up the DAHB and look up the guidelines for parking lots and fences, and that will kind of give you an idea of what is allowable in the district. So you can kind of start formulating ideas about what actually works. And I'm happy to, if you guys give me emails, I'm happy to share that with you as well, so you can kind of have a look at that. So I just want you to understand this is first step. And so we're dealing right now, if the board grants permission for it to be torn down, then they would have to come back with a final plan of what they're going to do and a design for the wall that you all agree upon. And did you all have any questions about the process or, yes, sir?
I think I know part of the answer. Between the two properties, large properties, I think theirs is acre and a half or something. Shouldn't there be an easement? Some of our electric is in that property line area anyway, underground. I don't know how things like that work.
I am not aware of an easement. I'll have to talk with planning and zoning about that.
There is
Right.
shouldn't there be something, especially for what's already there?
Are we talking about a utility easement so people can work on the utilities? I suspect that's something that we would need to address with city engineer and the utility companies. We don't really have the ability to direct an easement because what this board deals with is what the property basically looks like in the design of properties. But I suspect that's something that, as we move through the process, we can involve the city engineer to talk about, and the utility companies to talk about an easement through there, because you guys obviously going to have your utilities worked on at some point. And I,
Mr. and Mrs. Kemper and Irvin Fox were the partners in the development. And they owned that, and that's where they put their.
sure, right.
They are pretty close to what I think is the property line.
Yes, sir.
Usually those are in an easement.
Yes, sir. They certainly are. But that is kind of out of the purview of this board. But as the process goes forward, I'm sure that we can get the folks that need to be involved in that. And then that way you all have some security there as well.
Mr. Condor, you may well have looked at the plat for your Charleston Green, and if you haven't, I would suggest you start there where the easement might be reflected.
I have not seen the plat on that, so if there's an easement, it would be on that plat, an established easement.
I have looked at it to some degree, but not with the tape measure. I don't think so.
Sure. Any other questions I can answer for you or concerns? Okay. So,
Just to add a note, and again, not within the purview of this board, but a word to the wise, Mr. Sutton, if there's, I want to somewhat steal from Abraham Lincoln, if there's a board in this town you want for you or again you, you don't want this board again you. Okay?
so if you lose them, you lose the whole game.
Yes, sir. That's, like I say, it's not within our purview. It's just a word to the wise, sir. Anything else on, what do we need to move on with this one?
Well,
We're
we
just in
do-
the process now,
We do,
correct?
we are in the process of it. So
We don't
what
really
I,
need a motion. Do we need a motion at this point?
we will, yes. But what we need to do is, we've got to talk about the findings of facts and my recommendations to include in that motion.
Please, ma'am.
The findings of facts, even though that building is not very attractive, it is a historic building and it is contributing to the district. However, everything around that has been demolished. That is one of the few remaining historic structures on the street. And so a great deal of that has lost its historic integrity. And I think at some point we probably need to reinvigorate the discussion about getting that out of the district. The other thing, the structure has deteriorated, but it is still a usable structure. And it does have a lot of the original architectural features, and it is full of really good salvageable lumber. And so my recommendations with you all, if you choose to proceed with the demolition, at the very minimum, I did look at the 3D scanning. At this time, I'm not recommending that because of the nature of the building. If it was a much more historically significant building or architecturally significant, I would think that would be great. But I believe that we could do a Kentucky Historic Building survey with the Kentucky Heritage Council to document that building. That would probably, and I'm happy to do that for you guys, it would probably take me all of an hour to do the documentation on that. I did also send Mr. Sutton numerous salvageable companies that are fully licensed and insured. There's at least 4 within an hour's radius, who I am sure would be extremely interested in a great deal of that property or the lumber on that property. So those would be my recommendations to you. And you might want to put in there also that there is some notification to the folks at Charleston Green about when the demolition is to start. And so those would be my recommendations to this board.
Very good.
So now you need a motion.
We need a motion to say just what you said.
Okay. So I believe that the motion should reflect that the building, if you are agreeing to go forth with the demolition, that you approve the demolition with the 2 Kentucky Historic Building surveys need to be done, and that Ephraim should look into salvageable operations, and that some appropriate time of letting the folks at Charleston Green know when that demolition is to occur. That would be my,
If I could add to that, because again, I'll second that the presentation was very helpful. When it comes to drainage, and you demo something, the water pattern's drainage pattern's probably going to change.
It is.
And I think that some solution has to be agreed to prior to demolition so that there's an understanding of where the water is going to go and how it's going to be discharged. So I think that's an important thing before you do any demo.
I agree. Now, you all can also, require that as a caveat to that, that an engineer looks at the property and has an idea of where the drainage is going to be. That can be added to the motion as well.
Okay.
Just another question. Getting back to, first of all, how many people are from the association here? Well done. Thank you. You are embarking on a journey that probably is going to be incredible. And I'm going to tie this in. Too many times we let the citizen do all the legwork. Where do you know where to go? You've brought up excellent questions about drainage, about lighting, about security. What happens to the properties during demolition? What happens to the properties after demolition? I'm not sure this board can handle those kinds of things. And I'm not certain just telling you, go to City Hall and ask somebody the question. Is there a way we could facilitate some education and help them with at the very least, names and contacts? We're going to need city engineer approval. We're going to need planning and zoning, we're board of adjustments, easements. These people have a life to live. They don't need to be doing the work that this particular government is supposed to be doing. And I don't know if you can include that in the motion. I don't know if it's a separate motion. But I would hope that when we say it's okay to demolish the building, but you better do it this way. Thank you again for your participation.
Commissioner Bauer, I am a design person, and so I do not know, I'm not an engineer. I have no way of doing that. The only thing I can offer, or we can offer as a board, is the contact information to the appropriate city folks. And I'm certainly happy to get with you all and give you that information. But our purview is really the design of the building itself and the property once it's demolished. So I'm not sure, and I would have to refer to our attorney whether we can include that with the motion or not. So I would ask Henry.
I think the ordinance on its council's clearing this with the applicant. And so if Mr. Sutton is agreeable to these types of measures, the historic inventory, working with reclamation agencies, and some plan for drainage that's coordinated with an engineer, especially with applicant consent, that's something that we can attach to this certificate. Please.
Yes, sir.
And yes, we would be open to those recommendations. I just want to state for the record that we want to be we're a big part of this community, and we want to be good neighbors in the community as well. And I do appreciate, once again, as many people said, Mr. Connor brought up some very valid points, some of which I didn't even realize with 11-foot fence and things of that nature. Power easements, right, we will make sure all that is taken care of out of good stewardship. If there's anything there that we can identify, we will, because we do not want to cut any existing power or infrastructure to your all's facilities. So I do appreciate the engagement. We do hear the recommendations and are agreeable to the historic surveys and the other items we've mentioned here. I do want to be also clear, I'm not an engineer as well, right? But there is a challenge as well brought up with the water flow, and water always goes downhill, and there is substantial grade on that property. So we will investigate that out of the due diligence, whether it's attached to this committee or not, just as far as the factors that will be changing as part of the process.
Mr. Sutton, in your experience with these kinds of projects, have you had to work on drainage plans with the city engineer for other parking lots?
Yes, we have, absolutely. On things like that, especially on the new construction side of things. And just for the record, we do not have a plan as of this point of what the future of that will be. It will be utilized in some form, I'm confident in that. However, once the building is down, we have to make sure that we mitigate as much as possible any drainage or negative impacts that would be during the time, right? Because we right now do not have a time that the building's, going down this week and new construction starting the next week. So in that interim, we will make reasonable accommodations to adjust.
Are you readily familiar with the Church Street extension idea?
Yes, it is. The city has showed interest in the property. We have not come to terms or anything about that nature, but it has been discussed and part of their plan. I do not know the details, just a very top overview, right, about that would be their interest in the future plans of that, right, to extend Church Street. And that's about the limitation of where I stop and the future planning of the city would take over it.
Well, the parking lot, including myself, is being used like it was a road now.
It is, absolutely.
And if something was built over it, which might be good for community, that traffic, including my participation, would have to be rerouted. That's okay.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's part of it's a private piece of property that's become rather public.
It has, and just for the record, we have had some safety concerns with folks cutting through there. Our associates walking, even if they're associates with the hospital, and somebody coming through there at a higher rate of speed than would be acceptable. So we also are aware of those challenges, and I appreciate the input regarding that. from Mr.
Not the high rate of speed, but I'll have to plead guilty as using that as a shortcut.
Shortcut.
Going through to Robinson, Hughes, and Christopher, it's pretty convenient
Yes,
to cut through there.
Yep, absolutely. So,
So at this point, I believe the motion should state that you would allow the demolition on the 3 conditions if there was a drainage plan present, if the historic survey went forth, and that the reclamation process was ongoing.
And what about the fence that's,
That will be another separate COA,
separate
yes.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is just only on the demolition and for the demolition to occur. We'll get to see everybody again.
So do I have a motion to say what she just said? She may have to give you the verbiage there.
I will. So the demolition is approved with 3 conditions. Condition 1 is a historic building survey is done. Condition 2 is that Ephraim McDowell explore the reclamation process with the companies I've provided, as well as any other company, and that a drainage plan is presented. That would be to the folks of Charleston Green. Does that sound good to you, sir?
It sounds great.
All
And I
right.
think
All right. Well,
the
then-
findings of fact in the staff report also support this motion as well.
Great, well, I'll make a motion for those stipulations. Do I have a second?
We have a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Tillman? With no,
Just one.
just okay. It's your turn.
Mr. Condor, Mr. Sutton, get together and figure out what you're going to do with that security lighting that's coming off the building during demolition. And can some sort of temporary lighting be established before you come back with the full design for that property? Does that sound good? Got it.
Okay. Very good. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. And that's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Now, you folks are more than welcome to stay if you would like.
Mr. Clark, it just dawned on me why you were here. It's like,
He's a neighbor as well. I'm in favor.
okay. Very good. Next item on the agenda is 210 West Main Street. Mr. Sutton, I think you're still in the hot seat.
Yeah.
You're back in the hot seat, sir. Yes, sir.
210 West Main, we are proposing to replace the front door. With that, I think we discussed that in our last meeting, was a potential adding a half glass. We have pursued several options with that. The new change that I think is before the board today, although it was late breaking, so I appreciate Mrs. House contributing to get that put together, but Arnold's Glass has a vendor that said they can replicate that door in its entirety except with new materials. So that is what we're proposing to the board, no half light in the door, it will still have the side lights. And I've been assured by the manufacturer that we won't know the difference aesthetically from the outside other than the materials itself. And it will be the door and the two approximately 6 or 10 inch side lights is what will be replaced.
Okay. Johnny, I know you have researched this thoroughly.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, let me get Mr. Conder's phone number and then I'll get
I'll
one.
just send it to you.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind. We have it. So yes, we have been around the block with this one. In your packet, you will see a copy of the historic survey that is done on the building. We did that back with one of the grants. So it will answer any architectural questions you all might have about the building, the age of the building. And then I've been over there, and within your packet, you should have color copies of the side light deterioration as well as the door deterioration. We have been back and forth several times with Mr. Sutton about this, and I went over and saw Arnold's myself and talked with them about it as well. You also have in your packet examples of neoclassical doors, and given that you are adjacent to the Ephraim McDowell campus, it is appropriate for a neoclassical door to be put back in there as well as the appropriate side lights. The findings of facts, gentlemen, the building is not yet eligible for inclusion, although it will be in a few years because it's in about 3 years it's going to hit that 50-year mark. But it is a contributing element because of its design and nature. It is a neoclassic building. It does not read commercial, it reads residential. That reads as a residential building. It is, however, a primary commercial entrance. They are going to retain the trim and the fan lights. The side lights are frankly repairable. The deterioration is at the bottom, so those side lights are repairable. And I believe that you're talking about a square door with inset panels. Do you know what that door is made of?
It's supposed to, I believe it's a wood construction and the metal clad. or
Metal
aluminum
clad, yeah, that would be an appropriate door, wood construction and metal clad. If it's a six-panel door, I'm assuming, is it very much like the one that's there?
They assured me it would.
Yeah, that's a
we would
six-panel
not be
door.
able to tell the difference aesthetically.
Okay, that is most appropriate for that building. Now, so I would recommend that you approve the replacement of the door. Now, the side lights are an issue. They are quite repairable at the bottom. And I know they don't look repairable, but they are repairable. Most of the deterioration is in the bottom third of those side lights. So it would not be my recommendation to remove those, rather have those repaired. It will have no glass at all.
It's identical to what's there
It's
now.
identical to what's there now. No, we do not want it to look more commercial. It needs to, and I guess one of the things, Craig, that I don't want to get you, see you getting thrown under the bus constantly. Does Ephraim not have an in-house architect that can help?
we
No,
don't.
okay.
We do have one that's working on the major expansion
Sure.
project soon, but we do not have an
Right.
in-house architect.
And what we're running into is, you know, these buildings have to be stylistically maintained in an appropriate manner. And when you start expanding openings or putting large glass entryways into these historic openings, I know you said, look right across the street, but that building looks incredibly different than the building that's being proposed to work on. So that solid door is very appropriate for a neoclassic door, and I did give you guys some examples of that. There's 2 or 3 examples in your packet, and I'll just share these with Dana. There is the door. Okay, that's the side light, and here's your door deterioration. Here's the examples of the doors. And if you look at the Ephraim McDowell House's doors, they are solid panel doors. And given that's adjacent to that, that's a very appropriate door for any type of neoclassic house. And an aluminum clad, a metal clad wooden door is also appropriate and within our guidelines. You all need to discuss the side lights. It depends on if, because they are proposing to have them removed completely. So, and
And if I'm hearing it right, removed and replaced in kind.
is that correct, sir?
That is correct, yes. The entire entryway, including the side lights, is what we have a quote on replacing with the same style and the very same features. My only hesitation is I haven't used this vendor before, so,
Sure.
if I can, I would feel more confident. But I have been assured by Arnold Glass that that is the way this would be. We would lean toward, or our preference would be, because wood still requires maintenance. I do understand the historic value there, but my preference would still be the metal clad feature. That way it's basically maintenance-free, at least for an extended period of time.
Now, would that design be identical to the side lights that are up there
Yes, the
now?
side lights as well, including the 3 little side lights.
The lights, right,
Yeah,
right.
the panels
And
on
the,
the
and the
side.
panels on there. To replace it with, if you have wood that is metal clad, that is also acceptable. So the question remains for you folks, do you want it repaired or do you allow it to be replaced? That's the fundamental question.
I don't have a problem with it being replaced if you're replacing it in kind, and it's going to hold up longer than the existing window system, door system. So personally, I don't have a problem with it.
It's your all's edict.
No, I think going with metal clad is the way to do it. You know, obviously, the criteria is, it looks the same. And I can't imagine that it wouldn't. So we don't have an example of the side lights using metal clad?
No,
It's
sir.
not in the package, so we do that on another.
We have not gotten that from Ephraim yet.
And so if we were voting on a motion, are we doing the same thing we did with the steps? We vote on the door, but not on the side light?
You could demand in the motion that they be replaced identically as they are now with the different material. And that would hold them to the design. So if you, there's a couple things you can do. You can table this until they get me a design and we can have a special meeting to look at that. Or you can require that the replacement be exactly the same design as it is now using the alternative materials. That would be and is that, I want to make sure I'm legally correct there, so.
If you're inclined to make a motion to approve, I've got something written out here that I can read for your consideration.
Please.
Okay. The proposed 6-panel wood construction door is compatible with the character of the property. Though the building is commercial, it reads residential, and thus the proposed door would be appropriate. The match to the size, profile, and texture of the original door's side lights also renders the proposed side light replacement appropriate, and a requirement of this motion is that the design be exactly reproduced in the replacement.
That's a fine motion.
Well said.
Dana, you want to make a motion? Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion.
We will get it to you.
About it. What is the lifespan of the wood clad in the aluminum? Like, how long do y'all expect that to last? 20 years, 30 years?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I would have to leave
Sure.
that up to Arnold's Glass or
Sure,
the experts.
sure. Okay.
All I have is typical experience, right? So if it's well painted, you know, and used with the proper type of paint and well maintained, they last quite a long time with a metal exterior. So the biggest issues that we've run into, things like that, is common salt in the wintertime, right? Salt and steel
Oh, yeah.
don't get along too good, but neither does wood and water. So
Yeah,
that's where we end.
similar problem.
So,
Okay, I was just wondering.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye? Aye. Any opposed? None opposed?
There you go, sir.
You're on your way, sir.
All right, now, Craig, before you go, do you have some time next week to let me in that building, maybe Monday? Can we do it Monday at 11?
Ball lumber, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, perfect. I'll meet you down there Monday at 11 o'clock, and we'll get that historic survey done. And that will be our contribution to this. No problem, sir. And if you have any questions, please let us know. And we've also, we have discussed having an ad hoc kind of committee, and I've asked Mr. Nicholson to kind of chair that, about perhaps meeting with you folks on a regular basis about what future plans are, and, you know, any help that we can give you. Ephraim McDowell is such a large part of this community, and given that Dr. McDowell is an incredibly important historic figure, I think it would be a win-win for you guys to really pump up the historic preservation. I think it's a great idea. So I'm going to get you and Mr. Nicholson turned off my mic. Then we're going to strong arm maybe Mr. Noble into helping with that effort, since he is an architect. And you can let Ephraim know, they need to get you an architect to help you out.
Many years ago, some video project for Ephraim McDowell, and I called the American Surgeon Association to get some information, and when they found out that I was from Danville, Ephraim McDowell's home, they went bananas. Like, everybody on the place wanted to talk to me. So you got a gold mine.
Appreciate that insight.
Very good.
Appreciate the
Mr.
boys'
Sutton?
time, and like I say, as you all said, I appreciate the community engagement.
We look forward to being a resource for you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
And Craig, I'll get those COAs to you. I'll probably just bring them with me Monday. That work? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is board election. I might suggest we do that as a slate. We need, what, a chair, vice chair, and secretary?
I believe that Mr. Bowling nominated the current board on the slate, so all you all have to do from the last meeting, John nominated all of the current folks who are already holding positions, so all you have to do is do the election.
Anybody else want to do it?
Don't jump out
Speak
front now.
Or forever? So- Yeah, we might not get a quorum. So all in favor of Mr. Bowling's motion from the previous meeting? Aye. Is that legal? Are we good? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Another year.
All
Where's
right.
the pay raise? Did we get a pay raise?
Yes, it's a double knot now.
Very good. Grant updates, Ms. Director.
I have no idea what's going on yet.
No
all
one
of,
else does either, so.
all of the grant work is turned in, it's all sitting there. I did go and meet Mr. JJ down in Junction City this week and looked at their building. So that building, that City Hall building, that is a real good candidate for that Paul Brun money. That is, because it is a WPA building, it's already on the register. It would be a perfect fit,
That
because
little white building on the left as you're going, have I got the wrong?
no,
building?
no, it's right down from Sweets by Cindy. It was the old jail there and the city hall at one time. It's a brick structure. It's on the
Oh, okay, I'm
left-hand
thinking
side.
The old bank, that's a little white, okay.
No, sir, it was WPA, so it was
Okay,
built in the
okay, gotcha,
thirties.
gotcha.
And it's already on the register, so if some of the grant money will break loose, that's gonna be one of the ones I recommend for the Paul
Well,
Brun.
Junction City is one of the few, if not the only municipality in Kentucky that is in the black,
Right.
so they can,
Oh, I met with them for quite some time. The building's great. It's got great bones. There's some increations on the back of it that could be taken off, but they're not historically significant. The Paul Brun grant, which is the bricks and mortar money. But then again, guys, all of the certified local government money, everything, all those grants are on hold right now. So as soon as I figure out, as soon as we get things going, all of our paperwork, we're in
tell
good
Jim he
standing.
can do that one by himself, he's got enough money in the bank to do it, so.
He's a
Then watch him
character.
spend.
He's a character, let me tell you what.
But that's why he's in the black, and the
He's
rest of your
good.
small municipalities are belly up.
So he's very supportive. That's what they want down there is a community center for that. So I think that block grant there would be very helpful for them to get that. We're just waiting on things to get shook loose. So we're ready. We're just waiting for that.
Okay, we'll wait for an update next time.
I was hoping, but as
Yeah.
of today, no, nothing has. Come down.
Any more business before this?
We need to make the adoption of the goals.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
Skip over that, I'm sorry, I missed that.
I had sent you all a set of goals. If they're appropriate for you for this upcoming year, we will adopt them and put them in the plan for the Kentucky Heritage Council. I feel like if we can get the grant and get the website running, it would be extremely helpful to follow through with some of these goals. And if we can get and I don't know what the situation is with the new planning and zoning director, but hopefully we can make some updates to the current website to help with that. But until we get someone in that seat, we're we're in a holding pattern there. And I'm not sure how that's going. Slowly, very slowly, so.
So we vote on these, or
You just make a motion to
Motion
accept
to
them?
Accept.
I make a motion to accept.
Very good. Do I have a second?
A second.
Hey, he can speak. We finally got
All
him talking
right.
down here.
He's
This is
good.
great.
I asked a question.
I'm just mildly harassed. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of the goals as stated? Aye. None opposed? Now,
deal.
motion to adjourn? Can we go home
I
now?
wanted to point out, Jonathan went to a Historic Preservation Summit last week. That is part of his training, and I thought maybe he could give us a quick,
Would you please?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I went to, it was the Kentucky Trust for Historic Preservation. They have an annual summit. They're wanting to do them more often than that, so maybe spring, fall, that kind of thing. They held it in Louisville at Locust Grove, which is a historic site, 1792, very 40 acres, very, very cool. They brought in the former director of Preservation North Carolina, who was there from 1978 until maybe like 2023. Wrote a book called My Time for Preservation that basically kind of explains how they run their statewide program, right? His presentation, it was a couple sessions, basically talked about real estate and how to handle like these structures that at the core of it, it's real estate deals, and that's the cost, right? Of either the dirt kills the building because the land is so valuable, and we see that in that's not something that we would do here on the board. But, so we kind of talked about that. On the Kentucky level for preservation, there's been a steady decline on investment in this mission, on investment in many communities. Like, you have outliers, but, you know, within the past so many years, like, we have seen an uptick in the loss of historic property, listed property. Things just kind of seem to vanish throughout, like, the state. And so the focus of the conference was to kind of redirect all of these small groups. So, like, you have the speaker, right? And then you have all of the community groups, like the DAHB, the DLT, you know, and all towns have these kind of groups, right? And so that's kind of who was represented at the summit in the audience. And so it's kind of trying to inspire, most of these are volunteer-ran groups of how to move forward and how to advocate. And one of the things the presenter said that stuck to me was you need to identify your three main things that you're wanting to do, because, like, it's volunteer-ran, and you can only do so much, so do those three things well, right? And so he gave the example of, okay, are you in a very rural county, do you want to try and save these farmhouses or tobacco barns or something? Or are you in a downtown where your role is on the design side of things to maintain that character that, while the buildings are largely privately owned, of course, but like that character that belongs to the community, right? And so that's kind of the focus. He provided a book, the one I talked about earlier, and I haven't got a chance to read very far into it, but it's very kind of concrete and hands-on. So it's not talking about, like, architecture side of things, but like how to make it happen if you're going to save this building. And so I can share that title, send it out through the email.
Yeah.
I think the book's like $37. So it's not like super cheap, but it's full of, like, graphs, photos. The other thing that he talked about was money. Like, it makes financial sense to invest in preservation. Your town benefits from it, you know, on and on and on. And there's a new report coming out, and I'll keep an eye out for it. Joni will probably get it, from Kentucky Trust on how revitalizing the buildings and preserving them in Frankfurt has made a lot of money downtown. And so, you know, it might be hard to sell someone like, you know, someone on, well, you should do this because it's the right thing to do, or, you know, the architectural, like, pure thing to do. But if you can sell them on, oh, you'll make money doing this, you know, then you've got maybe a more
It's always shown me money.
an active city or active county or, you know, private owner. So that's kind of the focus there. There's something else. When people found out that I was from Danville, they did ask about our Main Street program, which no longer exists. And so there was multiple people who were, you know, kind of sad that that was gone. And I moved here in 2023, so I was not here during, like, that era. But yeah, so, you know, that was something that just kind of stuck with me. I can't think of anything else.
What's the Main Street program?
So basically, Joni could actually probably speak to this more than I could.
So Main Street programs are a wing of historic preservation. They there's 4 tenets of that, and combining historic preservation with economic development is kind of their goal. And if you're interested, Gary, go to the Kentucky Heritage Council's website and look up the Main Street programs. There's several really good functioning ones within Kentucky. Bardstown has an excellent one. There's several different ones around. And then there's a national There's a national organization for Main Street, and they do like some really interesting things about streetscapes and different things of that nature. So I'll see if I can't dig up that link and send it to you.
You know, when we started talking about, this ties in with that. When we started talking about redoing the signage program and so forth, I went for lunch in Bardstown. You know, that's just a terrific downtown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, to emulate what they have done in terms of signage and excitement and vitality. I don't know if that relates to Main Street program, but it sure.
It does. That
has
is their
worked.
main, they work, their Main Street program and their Architectural Review Board work together on that. And Bardstown is exceedingly restrictive because they're selling a product, and that's their downtown, is bourbon. And so they've been, over the past several years, they've really developed a very stringent sign code. And they've also, you know, I've talked to those folks over there several times, and their philosophy is if it's not historic yet, it will be. So we're going to treat them all downtown as they're historic. So everybody kind of goes by the same guidelines. So I think that is one of the things when we look at this and try to work more to get planning and zoning guidelines for downtown more in line with the Architectural Review Board. I think that's one area that we could really focus on with planning and zoning. When we get the grant to get it through, but that, they've been very successful at that, very successful.
Well,
But
it
they're
should.
pretty sticky. It's a sticky wicket down there to get
Well,
things
you
through.
say it's a sticky wicket, but, I mean, it's really like, this is probably not a good term, it's almost like a free-for-all. But they're doing terrific stuff in terms of signage and everything.
Yes, yes.
And so it's really interesting to go there.
Right. And they've been very lucky in that they've had city officials, city commission support with that. And we have not had that relationship, unfortunately. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Might be a good idea.
I don't think I'm confusing the cities, but I thought I saw a short on one of the news channels about their Main Street program. What I was excited about is they have some sort of funneling channel that if a new business wants to buy one of the older buildings in the downtown area, they can provide that new business with funds to make certain that the facade is brought back to historic levels.
Yes, there are numerous
And-
facade
and,
grants that run through
you know,
Main
They were
Street.
interviewing some of these people that just said, we're coming in.
Right.
It's a win-win situation.
It is, it's an investment.
Yeah, I thought, you know, follow the money, you know.
You got it. That's right. And as we, you know, as we go through this process, you guys are a functioning city entity. You can make those recommendations to the city commission to consider maybe doing some facade grants. They're small block grants, but, you know, $5,000 would help a new business considerably if they need work on a window or work on a sign of something. So, you know, as we move through this process, that might be a set of recommendations we develop. Because Bardstown does it very well. They do it, and there's numerous cities that do it very well, but Bardstown is a pretty good example.
Okay.
That's all for me.
Tom, I just have, need an update from our Preservation Awards Subcommittee members. I sent out an email a while back. A couple questions. Do we have a design certificate award? And two, have we come up with a design for the wall plaque?
I have not, and that's on me. I have had some personal issues.
No,
But, yeah, no, no.
It's an update, that's just fine.
Right, no, and honestly, there hasn't been a ton of interest in it, and I've pushed it on several folks, but the next couple weeks, I'm really gonna go out and shake the branches, and we may extend the guideline, or the deadline a little bit to try to get folks a little more involved. And I do apologize, the last 2 months have been a little difficult.
No apologies.
So that's kind of where I'm at, but I will make myself a note.
That and the sign frames.
Yes, and he is on the, as well. I need to get that done. We need to make you official, Mr. Tillman. You gotta have your name plaque.
And Henry.
Henry says he has one in planning and zoning, so I'm gonna steal that one next time.
Trying to be incognito.
That's right, no. You're not gonna get off that lucky.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
Good.
motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Oh, I didn't get it. Who said?